This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Dustin Hoffman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Hoffman. Today is Monday, June the 24th, 2024. We're so glad you could join us. Coming up a little later on this show, we talk about H5N1 or high-path avian influenza, depending on which animal is being affected. We talk with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig about the latest going on. But first, let's go ahead and run down those closing markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're at the end of another trading day, starting off this Monday for this week, and talking right now with Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. And it's been an interesting couple of days, interesting ride. We had the cattle on feed report at the end of after the trade closed on Friday. What kind of things did we see here today, reaction-wise, both in grain and livestock? Let's start with the grains.
Yeah, in the grain market, we saw basically a little bit of everything. I thought it would be a little higher overnight, and we saw a lot of media coverage on this too wet weather up in your area, north Minnesota, Wisconsin. We'll see what the crop conditions report shows this afternoon. Trade's expecting 2 to 3% drop out of that good to excellent category. But mainly in that northwest. I mean, once you get that much water, you just can't recover from that. So we'll see if that news kind of comes out. As a nation, they're looking 69% of the corn crop good to excellent versus 72%. Soybeans, 97% good to excellent. Not 97%, but 68% good to excellent versus 70, down 2% from last week. So that maybe give the market a little direction tonight, but actually the market was on a defensive posture, kind of climbed out of the hole, climbed the wall of worry. Corn finished down 1.5 cents a day. Soybeans up 10 to 14 cents. Wheat market down 9 cents. Did see a soybean meal sell of 228,000 tons. Part of that was meal cake to the Philippines. So we saw a little bit of export interest here on this price break. Once we get past this afternoon, we'll be focusing towards the end of the week here, where we'll see the grain stocks report, quarterly grain stocks report, and an acreage estimate there on Friday. Also, too, Friday is first notice day for the July futures contracts. If you have a July basis contract with the elevator there, we're seeing those elevator positions start to be squared away here. And what we're finding is a lot of elevators won't roll those anymore. So you have to kind of visit with your elevator there and see what type of strategy there is for that. Otherwise, we've got this Thursday night political debate. I don't know if that'll give the market some direction, but I'm sure it's going to be kind of entertaining on what they're looking for or how the strategy is Thursday night. So a lot of moving parts this week, but the main focus continues to be weather. I know locally here we're in for some chance of rain here on Tuesday night. And again, this coming weekend, our crop looks pretty good. Dustin, we're about chest high on corn. Beans are starting to fill in the rows pretty good. Last weekend here, we received 0.4 of an inch. So we could use a little bit more water here. Wheat harvest is scooting right along. Yields are actually a little disappointing. A lot of producers were looking for 100 bushel from the soft red winter wheat. Live's coming in 95, not quite 100. And what happened was there's some areas that had too much moisture. And so that's being wrapped up in through here, and actually seeing a lot of beans going in after the wheat here. A lot of double crop on this soft red winter wheat crop.
All right, and then moving on to the livestock, as we said, the cattle on feed report came out after the market closed on Friday. Did that have any effect on today's trade, or did the markets kind of anticipate what was going to happen? And then also, how did hogs look, at the end of the day today?
Cattle on fade report. Hopefully the case here. Basically going home Friday there. That placement number 104. They were looking for 98.5, so the placement's a little high. They were calling the market anywhere from $1 to $3 lower, $1.50 lower, and it hung in there. And the fats were able to come back and close $1.67 higher. So we're higher on the week. We're seeing the cutout just kind of remain firm, even though we've got some higher placements. The overall numbers seem tight. The big thing is cookout featuring. Man, we've got too wet weather in some areas. We've got too hot weather in other areas. So I need to have a cookout featuring fairly good here and keep the restaurant demand strong. Buying cattle, selling hogs. Hogs took it on the chin. The front end moved down to new lows. Those July hogs down to 210 on the day in through here. But the lean index continues to be steady here in this low 90 area. We're seeing the cutouts kind of hang in there. Loins 99, hams 89, and bellies $1.19. So we'll see how the export sales report goes here Thursday and see how the export sector is on it. But overall, consumption is kind of iffy in through here right now.
All right. Well, if folks want to look at some of their marketing strategies, what kind of things they should be thinking about at this point right now, what's the best way for them to get in touch with agmarket.net?
Yeah, this afternoon we'll have our fundamental outlook video. Wednesday we'll have that technical video. Then, of course, Friday after the reports on the acreage and grain stocks, you can go to agmarket.net, click on Intel. That's where most of the team has their research there, Dustin.
All right. Well, Curt, we thank you so much for the insight, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Very good. Take care.
And that was Curt Kimmel of agmarket.net. Let's go ahead and take a look at the closing numbers on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network market screen.
At the close, July corn was down 1.5 at 433.5. Soybeans up 14 3/4 at 11.75 1/4. Soybean meal up $11 at 372.80. Soy oil down 45 cents at 43.49. Chicago wheat down 9 cents at 552.5. Kansas wheat up 1/4 cent at 581.5. No closing settlement price from the Minneapolis Wheat Exchange as of press time. The last check we had is they were down 3 cents at 608.5. Oats up 1.5 at 308.5. Live cattle $1.67 higher at 184.82. Feeders up 52 cents at 258.90. Lean hogs taking it on the chin down $2.10 at 89.95. Pork cutouts down $1 at 102 even, and Class 3 milk 14 cents higher at 19.89.
And that's been our ag market recap. We're going to take a short break and hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association, and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, we talk with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to AMPM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Dustin Huffman. Well, we know that H5N1, or high-path avian influenza, again, depending on which livestock animal has it, has been spreading into parts of Iowa. So we get the latest now on what the response is and how things are going with Iowa Ag Secretary Mike Naig. We've had a lot of things going on since the last time we talked, and let's first start with the big elephant in the room, and that is H5N1 or HPAI, depending on what species has it, but what we've always known as the bird flu. Now, we've been successful for most of the spring keeping it out of our borders, but now we have had some birds and some cattle come down with it. Kind of tell us where things are on that point right now.
Yes, this is a developing situation, I guess, is the first thing I would say. And it seems like it changes day by day, and then we sort of have to adjust accordingly. But, kind of catch up here is we've had high path avian influenza affecting poultry really circulating since the spring of 2022. And it's been the same strain of virus that whole time. You go back to 2015 and we had it in the spring, and then it was gone. It was out of the migratory birds and gone by fall of that year. This one's been different. It circulates in the spring and then it circulates again in the fall as the birds are migrating. What we had earlier this year, or maybe late last year, the timing is still a little uncertain, is that at some point there was a spillover event where it went from birds into dairy. And then as we've kind of gone through the last few months, you've steadily been hearing about it spreading from farm to farm or from state to state in dairy herds. And so, and by the way, you've continued to have some poultry cases, interspersed with that. So we've been watching this very closely, staying in coordination with USDA, with the industry, with stakeholders, with other states, trying to learn what they've been going through. And I don't mind telling you, and really hoping, even though hope is not a strategy when it comes to this, but certainly hoping and praying that we would not have to deal with it in the state of Iowa. Unfortunately, here just in the last couple of weeks, we started to experience cases. It started with a very large egg layer facility up in Sioux County, followed on with a turkey site in Cherokee County. And then since then, we've had 3 confirmed cases actually in dairies. And so it's here now. The other thing that was interesting was that when they looked at the virus that had affected that large egg layer facility, it had the signals or the sequencing that would tell you that it had been connected to a dairy farm. And so we're no longer talking about wild bird introductions into these poultry sites. It is somehow making it from the dairy network into the poultry network. And so what we're really working on right now is the epidemiological connections between these different farms. If you're going to try to build biosecurity strategies to keep the virus out, you need to know how it's getting in. And our poultry sites have done amazing work over the last few years to enhance their biosecurity, but clearly there's still some avenue where this is making it in. And so that's the work that we're focused on right now, is doing some additional testing, get the epi work done, even looking at working with USDA on assessing the wildlife that's in the area, trying to figure out, looking at people movements between farms. How can we, can we determine what was going on here and then build strategies to prevent that kind of spread in the future?
Now, I know with the bird populations in the past, IDALS has kind of clamped down on anything and kind of stops movement of birds and also shows and things like that. Is that what's going on again right now? And are you doing the same thing or something similar, looking at the same thing with dairy cattle at this time?
Great question. So here's the interesting thing about this and what makes this somewhat challenging. For poultry, the effect is the same as it's been, which is if you have high-path avian influenza on a poultry farm, we do the same thing we've done for years, which is quarantine that site. Unfortunately, those birds, they don't survive high path. They're going to get sick. They're going to suffer. They're going to die. And so the effort there is to try to contain it. You euthanize and dispose of those animals, those birds, clean those sites up, and then they can go back into production. The good news on dairy is it's just like you and I getting the flu. You get sick. You might have to take a couple days off. Your productivity goes down, but then you get over it. And with some veterinary care and being pulled off and literally put into, they call them hospital pens or sick pens, and you take those animals out, you take care of them, and they come back into production for the most part. So we're not in a situation where we're quarantining and depopulating dairy farms. Thank goodness that we don't have to do that. So that it's the same virus, but completely different effect on these farms, which then you've got some issues around, well, if the two are interacting, if you've got risk associated with both dairy and poultry, but the effect is different, that's a situation that we want to look at kind of holistically and say, we don't want to pit farmers against each other. We really need to be looking at this as a system. We have a lot of livestock in the state of Iowa. We're unique in that sense. We're not just a dairy state or just a swine state or just an egg state. We really have strong egg, pork. We're number 1 in egg and pork production. And we're number 4 in beef. We're top 10 in turkey and dairy. So we have a convergence of those things, which really we need to be thinking about it from a holistic standpoint. So at this point, we're trying to learn. We're trying to figure out kind of where it is, the breadth of it in the state of Iowa, create some strategies or help advise producers on how to protect themselves. A lot of research that still needs to be done around this. But as of right now, we're treating the poultry sites as we normally have. And dairy sites, we're just really working with them on increasing their biosecurity and trying to prevent, further spread as best we can.
And of course, to wrap up this part of the conversation, to assure all the consumers, this stuff does not enter into the food supply chain. And milk that has been contaminated, if it hasn't been caught right away, is pasteurized. And so basically the consumers are safe from anything because of this disease.
This is a really important point. And first of all, these are well-established protocols in the dairy industry anyway, right? So on a dairy farms across this country, on any given day, you've got animals that might be sick or off production for any variety of reasons, right? That's normal. And there are procedures for them to pull those cattle off. Remember, this is the industry that puts, I call them Fitbit for cattle, right? They've got health monitoring in a really intense way in dairy, and so you can detect when you've got some issues around loss of production or going off feed. Pull those animals off, pull their milk out of the system. It's diverted. So there are well-established protocols in dairy already around food safety, and so well established, meaning that they can just apply that to just happens to be a different virus, different disease. But it is important to note that even if a herd had been affected or infected, and they didn't know it, or they're coming off of an acute infection, pasteurization renders this virus completely inactive. And that's been something, we got 100 years of experience and data that supports the effectiveness of pasteurization. But FDA and others have even looked here just in the last few weeks and months just to confirm that, to give people assurance. So if you're drinking or consuming dairy products that have been pasteurized, you don't have to worry about this from a human health or food safety issue. Now, if you are somebody who's consuming raw milk, and that is legal in the state of Iowa, you need to be very wise about it, and you need to have your eyes open on what's going on that farm that you're buying from. They should likely be doing some testing around to ensure that they don't have high path, because that is absolutely a risk. Again, if you're drinking raw milk, if you're drinking and consuming pasteurized milk and dairy products, it's proven to be safe.
That again was Iowa Agriculture Secretary Mike Naig. And that brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all our content online at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, and on our YouTube channel. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified each time we put up a new video update. Also, don't forget about our free 3 times a day market podcasts. You can find them on Amazon, Apple, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. Mornings, middays, and closings, all that analysis free of charge, delivered right to your mobile device. Also, don't forget to sign up for our free e-newsletter at iowaagnet.com as well. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Dustin Huffman. For Mark Magnuson, Quentin Slater, Riley Smith, I thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.